listeners, Harika here, and I'm super excited to welcome you to UppTalk. If you're ready to learn and get your hands work wonders in the world of information technology, then you're in the right place. When I say UppTalk, we are not just another edtech company. Consider we are your learning partner committed to unlocking your full potential. Whether you're stepping into the world of technology for the first time or looking to advance your career, we provide top-tier, hands-on courses to build up your career. Let's take our first step towards learning here and explore it.
Basically now just continuation to the class. Then I'll proceed with the next item. Basically in inbound integration. Let me open this one then. Inbound integration. Here what you are doing. You are updating data in the Workday. Inbound. Is update particular data in Workday. Update or create. Now basically update and get. There are some examples. For example, you updated phone number. Then terminate employee. These are just an example. Hire employee. Job. Update job profile. There will be many things. Basically what you are doing, you are just trying to update details in the Workday. Now, this inbound is something you would need to explore more. You wouldn't need to explore more means. You need to understand when you are doing from the Workday UI, how exactly you're doing. For example, if you are terminating employee, before you do the inbound integration, what you do? Whatever you have to do in Workday. For example, you want to terminate employee, any employee. For example, what you do, you first try to terminate employee. If you join NV and if you don't know the business process, then you ask someone functional who is working in your team and ask them to how exactly you're terminating employee. Here let's say I'm using, this is a terminate employee BP. Here I am terminating one employee in Workday. Now here, let's say I give one employee test. There is one test 1. Let's say this test 1. This is one employee click. I want to terminate this employee. Basically, I have given the worker ID. You just note everything. Just focus everything. Basically, you have given to terminate employee. The first thing you have entered is employee ID. Then the second thing, here you see the mandatory fields. Here mandatory fields, you can see the primary reason. Then primary reason, basically you need to select which primary reason you are selecting. Let's say I'm selecting voluntary career progression. Then you just mention the another field which you need to do is primary reason. These are the mandatory fields to terminate. Here you are to terminate employee. You have given employee ID far and then you have entered the primary reason. The next thing is termination date. Here, if you see, this notice period and all those things are not actually mandatory. These are optional. Now in details you can see this termination date is optional. When this termination date, when you will select, let's say I'm selecting yesterday's Tuesday date, then automatically last day of work and pay through date is getting picked up. But all these three fields are mandatory. All these three fields are mandatory. Here, you note it down. Termination date. Then you have last day of work, and then you have pay through date. Then see if there is any mandatory field. There is no mandatory field. Now you understand. When you are terminating any employee from UI, it is asking for these many details. When you are terminating from UI, basically EIB inbound is a replica of this business process. Instead of going in the Workday choosing the employee, putting all these details, we are doing the same thing using EIB inbound integration. This is clear. One thing, Ganesh, but in this we didn't give any ID for now, right? Employee ID. He just gave the name, and the next navigation is this one. This is basically employee ID, that is worker details. Look, when I give to terminate employee, then there I'm just entering employee ID or maybe worker name, whatever I'm entering from UI. But I am in itself. This is basically worker details. It's employee ID or anything you can see. Employee ID or employee name. We cannot give employee name because multiple employees can be with the same name. Right? Basically, we choose employee which is unique in the system for every employee. Up to this, you are clear, right? This is how you are terminating employee in Workday. Now you will do the same thing using EIB. Now I'm just opening the template. Now let's come here. When you generated the spreadsheet, then you got this one. There are many tabs, and then there is one overview and all. Basically, what you need to do is here in Terminate Employee, you have to select the automatic processing. You are terminating employee, then discard on exit validation error. If there is an exit validation error, then you just discard. I have selected. Then if you want to put any commands, let's say you can mention any terminated by your name. Or if you are getting any tickets and all, then you can mention with reference to this ticket number, terminating this employee. You did. I'm not doing any other thing because I don't want to do. I don't want to. These are not the mandatory thing. I'm just ignoring things. When you will do actual termination or actual inbound integration in your company, then you might need to enter other things as well based on that company's requirement. Here to dominate one employee, they have not given any other fields as mandatory. But let's say you joined one company and there is a lengthy termination process. Apart from the fields which you have mentioned, there are other fields as well which you need to enter as a mandatory one. Then this will be different. The funder. Here is to whatever BP you are selecting, whatever web services you're selecting you just fill the minimum required fields to process that BP. Here to terminate employee I use when I did from UI, then these are the fields I have entered. And these are the fields which are mandatory, I think. I am going to enter this many fields, and then I'm going to terminate that person in Workday. Here, this is a processing. There are 4 kinds of processing. Manual processing, automatic processing, run now. Run now with automatic processing. For this one, you will understand. I'll give you some details, maybe some documentation. Then there you will understand what you But basically you need to use automatic processing. In automatic processing, what happens? Let's say there is one approval flow. Then in automatic processing, it will just keep all those approval flow. It will directly update data in the Workday. That's why we choose automatic processing. Once you fill this overview set, then you just go with the Terminate Employee tab, whichever tab you are filling the data. Here, Terminate Employee, here you are filling the data. When you are filling the data here, this is a spreadsheet key, the unique ID for this key. This should be unique. You can mention for another employee, just mention the two. This should be unique, a spreadsheet key. This is just a spreadsheet key. It's not going to update anything in Workday. Then here, if you see in this template also, you will see required, required, required. Then there are some other fields which is required. Maybe some other fields may be required. Here, if you see this one is required. This one is required. Then this one is required. Then this is optional. Why this is optional? See, basically, when you enter termination date, then automatically it takes last day of work and pay through date automatically take it. It is mandatory in the system, but it will calculate based on your termination date only. Now here, if you see, there are multiple things. Area, this is terminate data event area, then restrictions, which one is optional, which one is mandatory, then format. In which format you need to fill the data, which reference ID you have to use. Basically for this employee here, if you see to identify worker from the template, this template, there are a couple of things, basically rate or employee ID. If you are using wait, then you need to give the reader of the employee ID. We did Workday ID. If you are choosing employee ID, then you have to pass employee ID of workers. How will you identify that? Let's say in Workday, I need to identify my bid. I don't want to go via employee ID instead. I want to go via bid. You can just go to profile, go to down. Then you see that integration ID, and then you can just go to view IDs. In view IDs, you will be able to see. Wait, see, this is the wait. If you are selecting in the template, let's say, instead of employee ID, you are selecting wait. When you are selecting wait, then you have to pass this value to identify one worker. This value to identify one worker. If you are passing employee ID, then you have to pass this ID to identify that worker. Here I'm using employee ID. I'm just selecting employee ID. Then here, this is just a termination date required. One format it is given, you enter in that format automatically. It will convert into some other format, but your system will understand. You always try to put the data in this format. UMDD, whatever format is mentioned here. Now the next is last day of work is same as termination date. Now the next is termination, subcategory ID. This is primary reason. This is primary reason. Now here, if you see, there is one drop down which is saying which one you want to pass. Either you want to pass wait, you want to pass termination, subcategory ID, or you want to pass event classification, subcategory ID. For this one, how will you identify that? Category ID termination, subcategory ID event classification, subcategory ID wait, how will you identify? Again, what you can do is go to Workday. I'm just doing again. Terminate employee. Picking any employee, let's say test. Let's say this test 20 or let's say test. This is click. You have to find the weed or subcategory ID or the reference ID of primary reason. What you do here is, in primary reason, you select any C for each and every type here. Whatever option you will see, involuntary or voluntary, for every item there will be different reference IDs. Let's say your business has asked to terminate employee where the primary reason is voluntary career progression. You select this voluntary career progression. You will be able to see the reference IDs of this one. You go to this one, click on this one. It will open your termination subcategory. And here you can just go to the integration IDs, view ID. Here you see there are three things and all these three things are populated in your spreadsheet. In a spreadsheet, it is asking either you enter weed or you enter event classification, subcategory ID, or you enter termination, subcategory ID. Here, if you go to the spreadsheet, see only these three options. You will see event classification, subcategory ID, weed termination, subcategory ID, whatever ID you want to put. For example, you want to put weed. Then in that case, you need to copy this weed. If you want to put event, if you're choosing event classification, subcategory ID, then you need to choose this value. If you are choosing termination, subcategory ID, then you need to choose this value here. In this case, these two values are same. But it could be different. Whatever ID you're choosing from this integration IDs, you need to select that ID value and just put in the spreadsheet. Here I am selecting termination subcategory ID. And I have given the reference ID. And then I have mentioned a pay through date. But the test any employee we can choose it, because before that if somebody terminated we will come to know that that employee. Any ideas for testing, you're going to choose any test employee only. You just give the employee ID of 1. Don't terminate your profile. I got it. In real time, basically in projects, what will happen? The first of all, this is something integration people don't do. This is something functional people do. If there is any data needs to be updated in Workday, generally functional people do. All those run all those EIBs. And they used to fill this sheet and they used to run EIBs in general. But let's say if you need to do then in that case you will get the data. How to create this data? You will get the details of that. What are all the employees you need to terminate with? With what termination date you need to terminate those employees? What would be the primary reason for the termination? You will get all those details. You have to fill this and then you have to attach while running the integration and all those employees will be terminated. Are you clear with this thing now? Suddenly, if you still have any confusion or any step which you are not able to understand, you just tell me, I'll explain that. Right now, it is clear. The next, because you are showing in both the ways right. Like putting employee ID and right. See, yesterday it was like I was trying to find the data right, correct data. That's where it became hot for kind of thing. But today it's just like when I'm just using direct worker and then direct template and all. Basically in every, let me now write steps here. First, create EIB Inbound Integration. Inbound integration you will create right. In inbound, select web service operation to do required task. Once you create, go to template model related action template model. Then generate a spreadsheet template. Fill the template with required data. Then for launch integration, any step you want me to write in detail. Where do you think you can confuse? I did all this, I don't need. Basically simple. This one and one more thing here. See here we have generated spreadsheet to update. Sorry to terminate employees in Workday. Today I'm showing you very quickly one more and you will see the template is different. I'm just creating. Create EIP, Ganesh, change contact number, EIB inbound, select inbound, click. Here next attach file at launch. That is fine. Web service operation. Let's choose contact change. Change home contact. Change work contact information. Change work contact information. Now click next. Then in template model. This is fine. Deliver Workday web service operation automatically. It is detecting the web service operation. Click next. It's quite easy. I mean, you just need to click next, next, click. Then you generate the template and you will see that's a different template models. Here generating a spreadsheet template again. Oh, this. Go to template model, generate a spreadsheet template. Oh, change contact doesn't work actually. There's some problem with change contact. I believe whenever I try to open change contact, it doesn't allow me. I'm just using some different. I think they don't want to. They don't want us to update a contact change. Maybe it's because maybe I'll update my number and you will get my number right. That could be the reason. That's not a valid justification to be honest, but still, I think they have just restricted that. Anyways, I'm going to change this template. Another thing, what we can do is change in names, personal information. Let's try to do some name change, legal name, change preferred name. For example, I'm just putting change preferred name. Click next. Come on. Change preferred name template model. This is fine. Click on Next. Updated change preferred name. This is fine. Click on Next. Now you go to I'll go to your template model. Come on. Not again. Oh, I think I clicked somewhere else. Template model, then generate a spreadsheet template. That's fine. Sub Oh, it's not allowing the viewer template model and configure a filter. We got confirmed right. That just confirmed. See here. I selected a generator spreadsheet with data. When I generate a spreadsheet with data, they are asking us to edit the template. At launch, we have to do that. Right. No. Basically the template. No. Basically what happens? This is a template you are generating right now. You want this template to be generated with some sample data. You can do that using Edit Template model. But for that one, you need to configure a couple of more things. Basically, we don't do like that. What we do is we just get the raw template. We generally use to get the raw template. See, sometimes it's confusing, right? Like what data where, exactly what data we need to enter, right? For those things, there are some ways in Workday, but that would be more tricky. It's better. You select this and see here. If you see, this is another template model. See here, if you see, there is just one tab for each and every web service or for each and every P. You will be having different kind of template model. For this one, it is very straightforward. There is just one tab. And here you can see whatever is required. I mean the country code or whatever is the required. You can just enter that and you will be able to update data name data in Workday. Here, if you see there is a academic ID, then universal ID, that is paid legal name. Oh no. Then almost like except the country and the first one, everything is optional, right? Can I just say yes? You don't need to fill those optional letters. I mean, you only need to work on the required ones when you are testing. When you will actually start uploading data in any company, then they will give you all the required information. For example, Here to terminate employee, we don't need a secondary region. But let's say company wants to maintain secondary region as well for termination. Then in those cases, if this is optional, but still if they are giving, you are going to fill that here. Basically, when termination will happen, then their primary and secondary region, both will be there. Both will be updated. Now like we generated this file, right? And then now we fill the data. Information is there. We just send the same template to the person who needs this information, or how? Yes, you can send the template. You can see like this is the field. I mean, basically, you need to say that it is like this is the, we will run the C. I mean, you can also, remove all these columns also, if you don't need optional ones. But what you can do is you just give the template. If that is very confusing, then you just mentioned in the email like you need to. From this tab, you need to fill this field. Then you need to fill this field. You need to fill this field. That is how they will you give them instruction and they will feel that it is like that only. And they will run the EIP. Now if they are doing mistakes while uploading data here, I mean if they are doing mistakes, then that's a manual mistake and same thing will be updated in Workday. That is something you can't do. See, if you are giving something wrong here in the data, then that is something is beyond control, right? You need to make sure the data should be right. How do we get that? Like if they fill the information again, the same data will be there in the EIP, right? When we open it with the, let's say they have entered wrong data. You are a technical person. How would you know whether they have entered correct primary reason or incorrect primary reason? See, when you run this integration, let's say this integration is generating error. For let's say you are dominating 20 employees. And when you run this integration generated error for 2 employees. Then you will understand, like you will get the validation error in EIP and you can tell them like this person. The record for this person has been failed. The reason is this. That is something you can do. But let's say they are giving you one file, this file where they have already entered 20 employee details. You will not be able to validate by yourself, right? Whether they are giving correct data or not. See, you are not managing the data. You are managing the integration. That is something is the responsibility. You got it right. Will you be able to do this now by yourself? Once we are done entering the data, we can just go to the integration and we can run. That's all right. We can launch it. Launch integration attach file. And then run the integration. One more thing here. Let me write it down. When launching integration, first time launch in validation mode. First time when you are launching validation mode. And once you verify like everything is working fine, then you launch without validation mode. Why in validation mode? Because whatever data they have given to you. You just verify when you will launch in validation mode. If there is something wrong with the data, it will give you in validation mode only. You can ask them to correct the data and then you launch in the actual mode. invalid. See, by invalidation mode, what will be validated? There also, you just try to understand. Let's say there are 4 primary regions. Let's say for primary region, they have entered something is, for example, let's say they have mentioned something in Word like they are mentioning something like voluntary, and then something like this they are entering. But here you do not see that option. It's not readable. Then your integration will generate either, whatever data you have entering that is not matching the format. And that is not actually a real data. Then you would need to identify the reference ID of the data which that person has entered. And then you need to just correct that data in EIB, and then only it will be processed. That is also something you don't need to do. You can ask them, like these are the, let's say, someone that is out to you to terminate 10 employees. Then, if ideally, he should be aware of all the termination reason and the reference IDs of termination reason. Now let's say he is entering anything. That is not acceptable. He has to enter the reference ID of the termination regions which is present in Workday. Now, if he doesn't know what are the termination reasons are present in Workday, you can help him by giving all the termination regions with their reference ID mapping. And you can tell them you need to mention the reference ID of whatever termination reason you want. Then those kinds of validations will be generated in EIB when you run the integration validation mode. Here, let's say you have mentioned the data. Let's say 30, 30, 20. 20, that's not a valid date, right? Basically, when you will run the integration validation mode, that will show an error. I mean, you are understanding what? Why do we run in validation mode, and why then? When or why first we run in validation mode and then we go without validation mode? The validation mode is to validate if the person is not putting the validate. Validate high-level data. Validate high-level data. I mean, if let's say here they are doing something like they want to terminate with effective data, for example, 6th of July. And then instead of 6th of July, what that person has in the 7th of June. Just interchange 6. If they are doing that mistake, that will not be validated by when a Workday in validation mode. That is their fault. That is something will not be validated. If there is any issue with the formatting and fail, that will be validated by the EIB. Now you're clear, right? But we cannot do the proper process here, right? Because we don't have that. What proper process? Like to get the mail and how to fill the information and then update the things like. See, you're not going to update this thing. That is something is not your responsibility. You can simply say, these are the fields you need to enter. You just fill the data. I will run the integration if required. Ideally, even integration, they have to run. Because lots of email, not many employee PTO review, there's these files are coming in. That right. Like in our profile. We cannot do with that right. What is that? Why they are why these reports are coming and all right. Just to check live examples. We cannot do it here. I mean, here you're not doing anything. I mean, here you are just simply creating the template, loading the data, whatever other things are. You're not doing that. And even B, All these things will be managed by someone else, ideally not by any integration team. If they need help in running the integration, you can do that. Anything related to data is not your responsibility. Because we don't have access also. You don't have access. First of all, you don't have knowledge of that. I mean, you don't know whether they have entered correct primary reason or not. Because you're not the HR, right? Basically, those things, those mistakes are their responsibility. But if let's say they are putting some valid reference ideas, that reference ID should not be there. They should be using some other reference ID, but they are using some reference ID which is valid in terms of termination. Or integration will simply terminate that worker. With that reason, it doesn't. Integration doesn't care whether you have even a valid correct in termination region or incorrect termination region. It will simply validate the data. If it's satisfying the EIB eligibility, the reference IDs and all those things, it will simply terminate the worker. If there is an issue with the primary reason, or let's say any data, or with the termination date, that is their responsibility. They have to validate. They have to actually validate with multiple people. See, ideally, when we know any data is loaded, when any data is loaded, that is actually being reviewed by multiple people first. Then only they used to update the data. That will be a production right. Let's say I have to update your SNN number. I am updating my SNN number as your SNN number. That is incorrect, right? Ideally, system will accept that. What testing? I mean, usually who do testing in, Workday reports, who tests that we have as an integration. When you will create, you will test. But let's say if there is any major project is going on, you will be having separate testers. And they will kill your brain only. Basically, testers are like testers, only right. They don't know what they know. Basically, they are problems. They just follow the steps. That's it. See, basically, what I follow, my recommendation always would be you try to be your one-man army. One-man army, as in, if there is anything happening in your company, let's say it's integration functional, you learn everything. See, this is just a basic. You are in, you are just getting the introduction of Workday. You have started working, right? Everything will be too much, but what I would recommend, whenever you join any company, you start with the basic integration. You spend your time in Workday. You understand how exactly Workday is working for that company. What is the landscape? How they are hiring? What are the criteria of hiring? How we can do the job changes? You learn all those things, all the transactions. Then you learn all the integrations, how EIB has been created. What are the integrations we have from this integration? Where exactly we are sending the data? What are in studio integrations? How studio integrations have been created? You start spending time there and you will see, automatically you will learn everything. See what happens when you see, let's say, you have created something. Now there is another tester who is testing your change. That tester doesn't know anything. Basically, initially you have to give everything, every explanation like you have added. This failed. When this will happen, then this will be generated like this. You will provide everything. Now tester is tester. Initially, that will ask that they will just kill your head. And afterwards, when you When you provide all the information, they will give you any kind of scenarios. They will process any kind of scenarios and there they will start finding the issues. It's not like they don't know anything. They have their own limitations, right? They don't know the technicality, but definitely they know how to test that, how to create the scenarios, how to test the functionality. That's what they will do. When there will be a big projects, then you will be having tester. When there is just a small items and all, then you just make the change and integration. You test by yourself and deploy. Now there are a couple of things I'm just mentioning. And then when they'll share that documents, they will say, see, I have not shared with them. How would they share? Oh, because there's like very few next week only. If they say, how can we contact you? No, I mean I'll share a document. Anyways, we will be having questions in the session next week, right? We need integration attachment. Now the second is in logic parameters. When you're launching, then you will see this many options. I'm just specify and then either limit. You can select a value between 1 to 10,001. 2. You can select 1 to 10,000. The process will stop when it reaches to the limit. This is understandable, right? I mean, for example, you are giving 500 errors. When your integration generates 500 error, automatically processing will stop. Then you have validate only load. This is validation mode. No actual data will be updated. Then the last launch parameter you will see is add errors to attachment. Here, basically, if you want it has to be added in as price your template which you have attached. Then you can just select this option. Sheet template. Let's say there are 10 records. And with 2 records has been filled. 2 record has been here at all. It will. What it will do is for those 2 records, it will just add the error in the template itself. You can download that either log and you will see the errors in the template itself. These are the launch parameters. Then another thing which I need to tell you is the four options. I was serving you in a spreadsheet template, right? In the processing, basically here I'm saying this one. Here there are 4 options, right? Sometimes 4 options, sometimes 5 options. Let me just note, write down those options as well. Processing instructions. The first one is manual processing. This is going to trigger reviews and approval. Reviews and approval means, let's say there is a termination BP. Here termination BP. Let's say there are some this tape contains some steps where review and approval from someone else is required. Let's say that is required in BP. When you will select manual processing, what it will do? It will trigger all those reviews and approval. Basically, this will initiate the transaction and it will go to the respective person for review and approvals. This is manual processing. Then the another here, let me will save in the process. In the process and includes, this is something you can note it down, important in terms of interview steps and validations. Now next is automatic processing, which we selected. In automatic processing, automatically complete steps in the process including approvals. Automatically things will be approved. To do and document reviews, document review task and bypass notifications. It will complete the process automatically. It will not ask anything. It will not ask anything. And here you need to enter. You must enter all the required fields. Then the third is skip processing. When step is marked as optional. In BP, sometimes some of the steps are marked as optional. It will bypass all those sub-processes. See, all these things depends on the business process, the base service which you're choosing. Simply skip the sub-process. Then you have next is run now. This will immediately triggers the process with manual processing. It's just like immediately triggers this one, then run now with automatic processing. Run now with automatic processing. Immediately triggers the process with automatic processing. basically immediately triggers the process with manual processing. That means whatever I mean, it will initiate the business process. It may be like someone is going and approving directly. Before EIB run, that process is completed. Here, run now with automatic processing means immediately. This is going to trigger the process with automatic processing. In automatic processing, basically it will exclude the approvals to do and all those reviewed tasks. Generally, we do not use these two things. We generally do not use. These are the things we generally use to handle via Studio. Mainly, you are going to use this one. Automatic processing, because when data is loaded from EIB, the assumption is it will automatically update data in Workday. Now let's say you are trying to update one data via one P, and there are a lot of approvals. A lot of reviews are there. See, if you want all those reviews and approvals to be completed by someone else, then you can just go with the manual processing. If you simply want the data to be updated in the system, irrespective of the approvals and reviews, you just use automatic processing. This is something you would need to remember. Anything you want to ask here? See, this is nothing much. This is just a hair processing instruction, whatever you need to select. If you're selecting automatic processing, then it will simply avoid all the reviews and approvals and all. If you have any question, the process instruction is same for all the activity. Like it's not just only for the terminating. No, this will be the same. This will be there. See here, you can see 4 options. Maybe somewhere you will see 5 options. Let's say there is in BP someone. Someone has created a sub-process which is optional. Then there you will see one more option. This one. Here I mentioned one more option, right? As keep processing when step is marked optional. You can explore these things. That's fine. You just take your time. Do all these things. Create your own integration. Try to transform. Then you will understand everything. But you understood the IBM bond integration, right? Yesterday, whatever we discussed, and today, whatever we discuss, combining. Please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us sales@uptalk.com.